I don't even know how they get you to do it, but I've done it.
I write late at night, generally, only because I'm kind of the only guy up, usually, you know.
I told her, I said, look, I'm on the verge of maybe passing out here. So if you don't mind, just nudge me when they call action, will you? Because I'm going to lay down here for a minute. I wasn't supposed to be laying down the scene.
I write in a stream of consciousness fashion. I don't rewrite. And I usually write it all at once. I wrote Sling Blade in about 9 days.
You seem to always be deep in thought.
Billy Bob Thornton has always defied easy categorization. Known for his deeply immersive performances, sharp writing, and unfiltered approach to storytelling, he carries a reputation as one of Hollywood's most authentic voices. Whether playing a haunted drifter in Sling Blade, a reckless but charming coach in Bad Santa, or a morally conflicted hitman in Fargo, there is an undeniable honesty to his work.
Cases that and give it to y'all, let's call it even. I mean, you know, as friends.
I wouldn't call that even, I'd call that a bribe.
Every performance feels lived in, as if he's drawing from a well of personal experience rather than relying on manufactured emotion. It's no surprise, then, that he holds a deep respect for actors who brought the same level of sincerity to their craft. Over the years, Thornton has spoken about many performers who influenced him, but a select few tend to come up repeatedly, each representing a different facet of what he values in acting.
So I went, and afterward there was a dinner, and Taylor said, I'm writing this show.
One had a quiet command of the screen, holding attention without ever seeming to try. Another brought an emotional vulnerability so intense that watching him felt almost intrusive, as if audiences were peering directly into something deeply personal. The third, often remembered for his sharp comedic instincts, had a depth and generosity that made him stand apart from his contemporaries. Together, they helped shape Thornton's understanding of what acting could be, not just a profession, but an extension of the person delivering it. Paul Newman has long been a fixture in conversations about the greatest actors of all time.
Oh, I say, let's us put our bread in some of that gravy while it is still hot.
But Thornton's admiration for him goes beyond the usual praise. He has often spoken about Newman's ability to strip away anything unnecessary, to let his characters breathe rather than forcing them into exaggerated expressions. Paul Newman never had to push, Thornton once said. You believed everything he did because it didn't feel like he was trying to make you believe it. That effortless quality is something few actors truly master, but it defined Newman's career. Whether he was playing a rebellious outsider in Cool Hand Luke or a jaded conman in The Sting, he carried an undeniable presence that never felt overworked. Thornton has often drawn comparisons between Newman and his own approach to acting. Both men share a disdain for artificiality, preferring subtle shifts in expression over grand monologues. I'd rather say one line the right way than 10 lines trying to explain something, Thornton once remarked, a sentiment that echoes Newman's own philosophy. In films like The Verdict and HUD, Newman lets silence speak louder than words, relying on micro-expressions and body language to convey depth. Thornton, in his own work, takes a similar approach, allowing his characters to reveal themselves gradually rather than laying everything bare in the first scene. James Dean, on the other hand, represents something much more primal.
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!
If Newman was all about control, Dean was the embodiment of raw feeling. There was an unpredictability to his performances, a sense that at any moment he could explode into something completely unscripted. Thornton has spoken at length about how deeply Dean's work affected him, particularly the way he brought a painful authenticity to his roles. Dean wasn't acting like he was hurting, Thornton once said. He was hurting. That ability to tap into something deeply personal, to channel his own turmoil into a performance, made Dean a phenomenon. Even in his short career, he managed to leave behind a legacy that continues to inspire generations of actors. Thornton's own acting style carries shades of Dean's influence. There is a restlessness in many of his characters, an underlying tension that feels like it could snap at any moment. Whether he's playing Carl Childers in Sling Blade or Lorne Malvo in Fargo, there's always an element of unpredictability. He doesn't follow traditional beats, doesn't always deliver lines in the way audiences might expect. That kind of performance keeps viewers on edge, much like Dean did in Rebel Without a Cause or East of Eden. The impact of Dean's work isn't just in how he delivered lines, but in how he used his entire being to communicate emotion. Thornton, in many of his roles, adopts a similar philosophy, letting his body, his pauses, even the smallest flicker of his eyes, do just as much work as the dialogue itself. While Newman and Dean are often spoken about in terms of their impact on the craft, John Ritter holds a different place in Thornton's heart.
To talk to you about something that's on my mind. I'm just gonna...
More than just a fellow actor, Ritter was a close friend, someone Thornton admired not just for his talent, but for the way he carried himself as a person. Known primarily for his comedic work, Ritter was a master of timing, able to turn the simplest line into something hilarious with just a well-placed pause or a perfectly executed reaction. But Thornton saw something deeper in him. John could do anything, he once said. People know him as this incredible comedic performer, but what they don't realize is he had a range most actors would kill for. The two shared the screen in Sling Blade, where Ritter took on the role of Vaughn, a kind-hearted but socially awkward man who befriends Thornton's character. It was a departure from his usual roles, and one that showcased just how much depth he was capable of. Thornton has often reflected on how much Ritter brought to that performance, noting that he had an uncanny ability to find the humanity in every character he played. John had this thing where he never judged the people he played, Thornton said. He always found a way to make them real, even when the script didn't give him much to work with. Beyond his skill as an actor, Ritter left an impact on Thornton in a much more personal way. He was known for his kindness, his generosity on and off the set. Thornton has spoken about how Ritter had a way of making everyone feel comfortable, whether they were seasoned actors or nervous newcomers. He just had this warmth about him. Thornton once recalled, no ego, no arrogance. He made you feel like you were part of something bigger than just a movie or a show. That quality is rare in an industry often driven by competition and self-promotion, and it's something Thornton has carried with him throughout his own career. Each of these three actors represents a different influence on Thornton, but what unites them is their sincerity. They never felt like they were acting for the sake of performance. They became the characters they played. That commitment to something real, something beyond the mechanics of line delivery and blocking, is what Thornton admires most.
Those are the things that keep them alive, whatever you put into your work or your family or your art.
Whether it's Newman's quiet gravitas, Dean's raw vulnerability, or Ritter's open-hearted generosity, all three embodied something that Thornton has spent his career striving to achieve. Even as Hollywood continues to evolve, the impact of these figures remains firmly in place. Newman's legacy endures in the performances of actors who understand the power of restraint. Dean's influence can be seen in those who aren't afraid to let themselves be completely exposed on screen. Ritter's warmth and humanity live on in the performers who approach their work with sincerity rather than ego. Thornton, in his own way, has become a bridge between these generations, someone who channels their influence while carving out his own unmistakable voice. There is a reason he continues to speak about these three men with such reverence. Acting, for Thornton, has never been about fame or recognition. It's about connection, about creating something that lingers long after the credits roll. The best actors don't just make you watch, he once said. They make you feel like you've lived something with them. It's a philosophy that Newman, Dean, and Ritter all embodied in different ways, and it's one that Thornton, in every role he takes on, carries forward.